Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over LTCN BCHG HZEN and ETCG, but we're also going to go over a few other things as well. One of those things that we actually forgot to bring up in the previous video, because we are human, right? We're not perfect, is the BTC dominance and why the alt season has not truly popped up yet. So with that being said, let's get it. So first thing I want to show you guys is the portfolio here. This is just our grayscale positions. This does not include Bitcoin miners, and it does not include native cryptocurrency or dividend paying stocks and ETFs that have exposure to some kind of crypto or Bitcoin. So as you guys can see, our portfolio is moving up even more. I suspect that even as much as this has increased, this is going to be absolutely nothing compared to the massive moves in these grayscale trusts we're going to see. I'm thoroughly convinced that we're in the markup phase at this point, and what I mean by that is that the markets are starting to price in the upcoming bull run. Does it mean we're at the top? No. I think that we're far from the top. As I said, Bitcoin's still in the limelight at this point. It has not had its halving yet. I do not think Bitcoin is at its peak yet. It's hard to say exactly where that's going to be. That's a very difficult thing to predict. But I do know this. The cycles usually work where Bitcoin goes first, then Ethereum runs up, and then altcoins run up afterwards. So a lot of these are based on altcoins, okay, with the exception of ETCG. And until we see that alt season, the biggest moves in these have not happened yet. There's also another common phrase that goes on in crypto that goes slowly, gradually, then suddenly. Basically, what this means is that's usually how the start to the finish of a new bull cycle works in crypto. So the Bitcoin and the altcoins go up very slowly. At this, basically after the absolute bottom of the bear market, they'll start treading up slowly. Then they'll move up more gradually, which is kind of what we're seeing right now. I'm convinced that we're in that phase right now. And then suddenly is when you start getting those massive parabolic, just absolutely insane moves where you get an altcoin that moves up like 300 to 500% in a single day, or 1,000% in a week, or something crazy like that. In terms of that spectrum of things, I would say we're in the gradually phase, not quite yet in the suddenly. So BCHG, we're currently up about almost 250%, so pretty huge moves. I mean, honestly, if we cashed out right now, this would be pretty good for either crypto or traditional stocks. Most traders would be, salivating at getting returns on this kind of level, especially in stocks. So ETCG is still kind of lagging. We actually had a question about this to address this. Basically, like I just told you, Bitcoin runs up first, then Ethereum runs, and then ETH Classic, which is an oscillator to Bitcoin, will run either it's an oscillator to Ethereum, my bad, will run either at the same time as Ethereum or shortly after Ethereum. Kind of like how Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash will do with Bitcoin. So we haven't seen the move on that yet, probably for that reason, but that's okay, not a big deal. HZEN, we're up a little bit, even though the position's like basically nothing, and LTCN, we're up 120%. So total return of about 130%. Pretty good so far, I would say. So next thing I want to get into in terms of before we go over the dividend content, is the spot Bitcoin ETFs versus GBTC outflows. So this is a pretty common theme that's being talked about in crypto right now. You guys are probably wondering why exactly is the price of Bitcoin not shooting up to $100,000, $150,000, $200,000? Well, there's probably a few reasons for that. Number one, we're massively overextended on the charts on Bitcoin to the upside, as you guys know. A retracement would be healthy, even necessary at this point, but whether we're going to see one or not, don't know. That's number one. But number two is a lot of what's being bought up by these big finance titans, as it were, like BlackRock and Fidelity, which FBTC is Fidelity and IBIT is BlackRock, just so y'all know. And then you have all these others like the ARK ETF and so on and so on. So you guys can see the numbers that are being bought up here. So this is basically US millions. So you get 603 million, 202 million. And you guys can see like the different days here. So these are it seems to be individual days, pretty much up to within the last week and a half. A lot of buying going on here on the left side. Most of it's from Fidelity and BlackRock, but you can see these other ones are buying a lot as well. But on the right side, you see GBTC. So these numbers are red because these are outflows. This is basically selling of Bitcoin, or the GBTC trust. So what's going on right now is there's basically there's kind of an imbalance between the two. So if GBTC was not selling and all of these spot Bitcoin ETFs were buying, the price of Bitcoin would be moonshoting right now. But because GBTC is selling, that's not happening. Now, there's probably various different reasons for that. One reason could be the fees. I believe the fees for GBTC was 1.5%, so pretty expensive, whereas these guys over here are charging like 0.2, 0.3%, or maybe not even charging a fee. So investors, even though the crypto gains are massively outsized, they don't want to pay an extra 1.2, 1.3% interest, or fees or whatever. They want to get as much bang for their buck as possible. That's kind of why everybody that's in crypto is in crypto, right? So that could be one reason. Another reason, it could be because of insolvencies. So some of what we saw during the 2022 bear market lows was things like BlockFi, FTX, and some of these other companies go underwater and go into bankruptcy as a result of the massive bear market crash and some scams that were going on and stuff like that. Don't quote me on this. I'm pretty sure that's accurate, but may not be. That's just what I know. So those are probably a few of the reasons why we have not seen Bitcoin massively moonshot as of yet, which is why we haven't seen the massive, huge moves on altcoins yet, which is fine because the longer this thing drags out, the longer the bull run is going to be. So let's get into the dividend content. So Fepi, we forgot to cover this one, but we wanted to wait to see what the dividend was going to be. So $1.19, as you guys can see here, per share. Declaration date was yesterday. X date's today, so today was the last day to get in. You get paid in 2 days from now. We'll take a look at the shares that we have currently. So we have 17.14 shares. And as you guys can see here on the max time frame, the price of Fepi is actually holding up extremely well, so that's good. This is not actually, I don't know, maybe this is actually the price of Fepi, I'm not sure. It might just be our average cost basis. I don't know. But either way, it's holding up pretty good. So we have 17.13 shares. So we'll do the calculations on this. We'll just say 17.1 times 1.19. So going to expect to receive about $20 in dividends. So now we'll go over to the KLIP Crane shares. This is the next one that we're going to talk about. I believe it was the X date. Yeah, the X date is today. So today would have been the last day to get in. Payment date is going to be in 2 days. But you guys notice here that once again, it's not popping up on this website. So if we go over to Webull here, you guys can see it does pop up over on Webull. So basically 61 cents. We have a total of roughly about, I think it's like 330 some shares. So 184 plus, we'll go back here, click on this, and 150 here. So that comes out to, I believe, 334 shares, if I'm not mistaken. So basically times that times 0.61, so 203 plus the roughly $20 from Fepi is pretty much, this is what we're going to receive in the next couple of days. So that covers Fepi and the KLIP Crane shares. Now, if we go over here, sorry, not to this page, to this page. So the next upcoming ex-dividend date is for the YieldMax ETFs, which the declaration date is going to be on the 3rd. Keep a lookout for that. And the X date will be on the 4th. Take a look at the calendar here. You guys can basically see that you will have roughly about a week to get your positions in for the YieldMax ETFs. Keep in mind, markets are closed this Friday, so you pretty much only have Wednesday, Thursday of this week, and then 3 days next week to pick up your positions, as it were. We did actually pick up some both Coney and MSTY this morning. So we have 82 shares of Coney and currently 12 shares of MSTY. MSTY is just a beast at this point. It's up to $43, so that's kind of crazy. So yeah, that pretty much covers all that. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the Grayscale trusts. So LTCN is breaking out, as you guys can see. But in order to actually call this a confirmed breakout, we need to see the weekly close bullish. Okay, so we still have 2 days left. And it would be 3 days, but again, markets are closed on Friday, so you guys can see on the daily time frame we did have a confirmed bullish close here. Not even sure I can go back far enough on this. So this was a wick right here, pretty sure. But even if it wasn't, we have a candle close higher than that bear market swing high, as you guys can see over there. So that's very bullish. We just need to see the weekly close, and the target from this point will be somewhere probably, I would say, as low as, I'm going to go again with what I've been saying before, as low as $75 to as high as somewhere between $100 to $135 would be roughly about the move. So if we measure this from the current price to $75, it's a pretty good size move, about 150, 160%. But if we measure this from the current would-be then support all the way up to the current resistance, it's going to be about 235 to almost 360%. So huge potential move coming up there. So I got to scroll down here among my infinite watch list. So BCHG, this one has actually been outperforming Litecoin, or the LTCN Trust, I should say, which is kind of surprising. So again, still waiting to get that weekly confirmation. If we pop over to the daily, you guys can see we already got it on the right here. So 2 confirmed candles above the resistance zone. We did have a confirmed close on the bear market swing high, so we got to get above that too. That's also at roughly about where the current price is. So we'll just have to keep a lookout for that as well. But I would still, I don't know, it's kind of a toss-up as to whether this is going to become support or not. So for now, until we get the weekly close, I would say that this still remains as resistance. So somewhere between 10 to 13 bucks. The lower support is going to be roughly about 7 to 8 bucks, and the next resistance about $18.50 to $20 flat. So there's 2 different scenarios that could play out here. This could turn into or stay as resistance and drop. In that case, it would be about a 50, anything from a 38 to 56% drop. But if it flips into support, then the move up to the next resistance would be 53 to about 73%. However, if it does pull back and you wait to get in at that EMA area, it could be anywhere from 60 to about 98%, and then all the way up to 175 to 204%. Keep in mind, we're still not even close to the peak here. As you guys can see, the peak is at 60 bucks, and we have the all the fib levels basically typed out here. Of course, the Fibonacci's are not up, but we will go over this as time progresses. These are the Fibonacci levels on the macro time frames, so there could potentially still be some huge, ridiculous moves up. So next thing I'm going to go over here is the HZEN chart. So this one looks very bullish, I would say, actually. So we got a retest, and it looks like we're trying to bounce off of this resistance turn support. So we'll just call this support now. So support is between $7 to $8. Resistance is $11.20 to about $12.50. If we measure that from the current price, it's anywhere from 36 to about 47%. This could also be, I just noticed this, but this could also actually be a bull flag. It kind of does look like one. So if it does turn out to be a bull flag, it's going to be a pretty fat move, which is interesting because Horizon, the underlying token, hasn't really moved that much. We do have Horizon, but it still hasn't moved much. I think it's moved like a couple dollars or something like that. So HZEN could be a real winner in the bull market. We'll just have to wait and see. But the target for that's way up here at 14, basically 14 and a half bucks. So that's something to keep in mind. ETCG, still kind of testing that support. Haven't had a breakdown, so that's good. EMAs are there. That's very bullish. Also, this previous top here is also sitting there. So support between 13.30 to about 16 bucks. Resistance 17.50 to about $20. From the current level, it'd be roughly about a 20% to 36% move. Again, just to kind of give you guys an estimate of what our regular swing trade for us would be in the stock market is about 15% per trade. So this is actually even more than double that on just a very, very tiny, minuscule move in these grayscale trusts. So we'll go over ETH now. This one is very similar to ETCG, retesting resistance turn to support, except the move on this one could be a lot bigger, and we could also be playing out a cup and handle pattern, but don't really know about that one yet. So if it is a cup and handle pattern and it does have a breakout, let's just say it breaks out at the end of this handle here, the target would be all the way at the top of the resistance. So that doesn't really come as a surprise because markets usually kind of confluence on themselves at some point like that. Excuse me. So I would say this big zone here is still going to be support unless we see some kind of close below, which I mean, we did see back here on this kind of red candle close, but again, we're back in the box, so it's kind of hard to say what exactly is going to happen. So 25.50 to about 29 is support, 40.50 to 47.50 is going to be resistance. If we just get a move from where we're at right now to that zone, it's 55.60 to about 82%. The EMAs at this support zone are $17 to about 22. If you wanted to wait for a pullback on that one, that's up to you. Not sure if it's going to happen at this point, but it would be as much as 103 to about 141%. So pretty huge move. Zcash, this one is definitely starting to look more bullish. I was a little unsure with those wicks there, but it looks like we're starting to pop out of here. If we get a confirmed close above, this will become support. So for now, I will just say that this current zone that we're at is support unless we see otherwise. So $7.30 to about $8 and $14 to $17 to get to that resistance zone. From the current price to the next zone, it's going to be about 66 to 103%. But if we, let's just say you guys got in roughly around the middle of the zone, so about $7.50, it could be as much as 84 to 123%. If you want to wait for it to get a little bit lower, that's up to you. It's entirely your choice. But again, this is crypto. There's no guarantee that it's actually going to come back down. Of course, there's also no guarantee it's going to go back up. So that's why we look at these charts. So GSOL looks like it's getting ready to coil. Whether it pops up or down, that remains to be seen. We have to wait for the confirmed move here. I would still say support's going to be roughly around 190 to maybe as high as 250. In my opinion, I would not buy higher than that, but that's just me. So if we get a pullback into that zone and then a bounce, it could be as much as 170%. Mana, this one looks like it's wanting to break out. So you got a little tiny poke above that resistance area there, but no confirmation on the weekly yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that if you get a pullback somewhere between the blue to the yellow EMAs, that's probably a pretty good spot. So that's about $23 to $34. And if you got to move up from roughly around that area, it's 165% just to get back to the highs. So GBAT, this one is this one's kind of all over the place. So we had this huge breakout. It did bounce and ripped pretty hard, but then we had this kind of weird looking red candle here, and then it closed below the green one, which was kind of semi-bearish, but now we have what looks like a shooting star, so that's super bearish. So don't know what's going to happen yet. With this candle right here on the current week, I would say a pullback could possibly happen from where it's at now to around these EMAs, so about 10 to 16 bucks. If you waited to get in there and then rode the wave up, it'd be about 168% move. G-Link not doing much of anything. It's kind of just stuck at break even. Support's still down here between $65 to $84. I would say that if I was going to buy this, I would wait for it to get back into the zone because the drop on this thing could be pretty hideous. We would not put huge amounts of money into a position when it's all the way up here and overextended like this just to get, crushed by 50%. We're not doing that. So if you guys want to get in now, that's up to you, but we would wait. So from the zone to the top here would be roughly about a 200% move. So Phil G, this one's gapping a little bit. It looks like, I think it might be due to small volume. So you guys can see the volume kind of over in the top left corner of the chart there. It says 1.53K, 1.89K. That's pretty small volume for a trust compared to something like LTCN. You see, several 100,000, if not million shares traded on those. So this is a very low liquidity kind of fund, which explains the erratic price movement. I would still argue that I would be waiting at least to get back to this $120 level to get in. What you guys choose to do is up to you. So from that point to basically back up to the top here, it'd be roughly about a 225% move. And GLIV, again, I would be waiting for a pullback on this one, probably somewhere between $28 to maybe $25, somewhere there. Probably would be a pretty good point to buy. So you'd be looking at, I'd say that's probably around 220, 230% move. Now, I had a question on the last video that somebody was wondering, they're like, well, can you let us know when you think something's overextended so we can rotate it into another trust? Look, I can't tell you what to do with your money. What you choose to do is up to you. But I will tell you guys right now, okay? Just basically taking a bird's eye view of the charts here. We'll click each one. I would say, that probably the most overextended ones in here would be something like GSOL. GSOL is very overextended. You notice how wide the EMAs are. That's an indication of a bullish trend, but it's also an indication of overextension. GSOL is very overextended. GBAT is very overextended. PhilG is also very overextended. If I had any one of those three positions or even GLIV, I would get out of these. If I was looking to position trade or swing trade these, not hold until the absolute peak of the bull run, that's a different story. And I'd be looking to get into something else like maybe Zcash or ETCG, which Zcash has already run up quite a bit. Or, I would potentially even be looking to just sit on the capital and maybe get maybe wait to get like a drop back down into this zone somewhere and pick up some HZEN. That's just my opinion, of course. And, LTCN in comparison to its peak and BCHG in comparison to its peak is still very cheap. So if I was going to rotate, that's kind of what I would do. Just my opinion, of course. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see y'all later. Peace.